And then he asked me a question. He asked me, time is the only finite resource we have in this world, and haven't you wasted a lot of it to get to this point, to look at what you want to do next? This is like way back in 2004-5, and I was sitting down for one of the final rounds of my entrance to my media school, Symbiosis in Pune. And I'd been through a long and really downhill journey till then. Right? I had flunked through my engineering. I had spent over 5 years at that point trying to finish a 4-year degree. I wasn't able to do my first true love, which was coding. I used to want to code. I used to code for fun before I ended up in engineering and had to do mechanical. And then somehow, you call it, a random occurrence or just something you ought to kind of trust into something. While I was in this downward spiral and I was working this dead-end call center job, my mother sends me this application and she's like, you always wanted to do something in the media space. This is a media school entrance exam. Why don't you go give it? But I hadn't prepared enough. I hadn't, put down any kind of effort in reality. But I'd given the exam with some form of logic and thought and somehow got through to the next round. And so I went in with the mindset to say, it almost feels like life is giving me a second chance. Because till that point, I was downhill. I was almost one of those people who had not been able to do anything right, considering all the opportunities I actually had in front of me. And then this person who's sitting across the table from me from the university asks me this question, saying, you want to study media and you spent the last 5 years trying to finish an engineering degree in mechanical engineering. You told me that you used to love coding before that, and now you want to do media and public relations, which is what I was applying for. Haven't you wasted the only finite resource we all have, which is time? And I don't know why, and it was one of those moments when you respond to someone and you give an answer. I said, every moment we spend, every experience we have, everything which we do is something we learn. So a resource lost in time is a resource gained in experience and hopefully eventual knowledge and wisdom. And so I don't think I've lost anything. I feel like I've gained an experience different from the other people who might be applying to this university. And so I might actually have an advantage over them because I have a different kind of experience. And I got in. And I don't think it was that answer. I just feel like there were many things apart from that which added up. And I guess the exam and the group discussions and the second exam. But I often think back on that time. And I think back on that answer I gave, right after my darkest moments of the time when I was at the lowest in my life. And I spoke about time and what I've gained from it. And I was thinking about that recently when I turned 40, a couple months ago. And when that happened, I was in my 20s, early 20s. And I thought back on what have I really gained in the last 40 years? What have I learned? Especially over the last 2 years, I've been through an entire shift in my head. I've again spiraled downhill. I've had a mental health crisis. I've had a crisis of faith in myself, in what I could do, and found a way through both internal reflection and external, conversations through therapy and everything else, to really understand myself. And in that reflection, I've realized I've actually gained so many things. Understood so many things about life, about what it means to understand what you can gain from that time that you have. And I want to share some of those with you. Welcome to an uncut episode of Take a Pause with me, Varun Duggi. I'm just going to talk about just a few things which I feel that I have learned through reflection and over my journey over the last 40 years, and especially my reflection over the last few years, and I thought I'll share it with you guys. No cuts, not trying to be fancy here with any things there. So let's go to the first one. The first thing I've actually learned is that for the longest time, the reason I wouldn't do something, the reason why I wouldn't take a chance on something, the reason why I didn't believe I could accomplish anything and I would stay stuck in the position I was, and we all know what it feels like to be stuck in that point. The reason I would be in that because I feared judgment. I feared how everybody around me would judge me. I feared failure. I was already worried about failing even before I tried something. Because I innately didn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself. I didn't have the capability. I didn't have the drive to actually be able to go ahead and do the thing that has to be done. So I would sit down and just be stuck, not even overthinking, procrastinating, just be stuck and say, maybe if I don't move, maybe if I don't act, nothing will happen. But it was that fear that was driving me. It was that fear that was pushing me towards having a lack of confidence, having a lack of trust, and having a lack of just like valuing my own judgment in life. And all of that spiraled to how I would be in relationships, how I would deal with my friends and family, and where anything would upset me, I would brush it under the carpet, not talk about it, be that silent person, almost be happy to be in the background. Till a point of time, and I believe you need to have the right people to kind of come into your life and you learn certain things. And thankfully my journey as an entrepreneur over time helped me kind of open up about that. I really learned that you can't plan life. I mean, if the last 2 years have taught us anything, it's that you cannot plan life. What you can plan is what you can build as a routine, as a habit, what you're doing on your day-to-day basis. You can have short-term plans which are built over your routines, and you almost have long-term trust on yourself. You trust yourself in the long term to say, I can get to some point if I trust myself enough. And with every turn, every choice, and every moment that you get in your life, figuring a way to take that next step basis the choice I have and not basis this long-term plan I have. Because I don't believe long-term plans work. I believe that you need to build systems for you to progress. Just like how you work, how you deal with people, how you function with other human beings, how you function in relationships, how you function in your mornings and your nights. What do you do for yourself? What do you do for those people you care about? As long as you focus on those things, you find a way to roll ahead, no matter what life throws at you. And in some ways, it's lesser pressure because you're just saying, I'm just following the process, right? When you talk to any sports person, and I love digging into sports people's stories, especially the ones which talk about just how they practice, and it talks about just stick to the process, stick to that whole thing of doing it. And I think back on my early entrepreneur days where we honestly didn't have a plan. We didn't have a business plan. We were two people who quit our jobs to do something fun on the internet. And we said, let's keep trying stuff. Let's make sure our bills are paid. So that became the routine. Let's focus on certain things that pay the bills. Let's focus on certain things that we really want to do. And eventually what we ended up doing, a large part of what we were doing eventually was what we wanted to do. But in the initial days, a large part of what we were doing were things we had to do to pay the bills. But because we weren't rigid about our path, just kind of helped us roll ahead and move on. And therein comes my second biggest learning, right? Is that you have to follow your curiosity instead of following your passion. Because passion is a very heavy word. We don't really know what our passion is. Some people say, I know what my passion is, but I don't believe a vast majority of us know what our passion is. But we do know what we're curious about. We know what are the things that to some form spark our curiosity, make us kind of, I want to figure out how that works. Or maybe I can try my hand at this. And when you go through curiosity, it's lesser pressure again, because you're saying, okay, I'm just dabbling, I'm just doing something. If it doesn't work out, doesn't work out. It's not a big failure because I tried something. And it becomes lighter. And sometimes, like my content creation journey, for instance, was a form of curiosity. I want to try it out. And over time, I've grown to enjoy it. It is literally the prime thing I now do in my life. And I became a content creator at the age of 36 after an entire entrepreneur journey, after an entire journey in my television career, and even before that through my topsy-turvy education period. But I kept following my curiosity, and podcasting led to online content creation, and eventually now doing all sorts of things there. But you got to follow your curiosity and follow it unabashedly, follow it in a way that sparks some joy in your head. When we were kids, we were curious about so many things. We would dig into them, we would truly try and understand what all we could do, and we didn't have fear. And that's the third learning, is that we often treat fear as if it's a roadblock, like it's telling us not to do something. But the more you try to understand your mind, and I've spent a lot of time studying how the mind works, and I'm continuing to, I'm a student of happiness and wellness and everything around it at this point of time. And I've come to realize that fear is not a roadblock. Fear is almost like a warning sign. Fear is telling you that this could cause you some trouble. It is not something you normally do. It has some level of risk around it. So take it a little more carefully, but it's not telling you not to do it. It's not telling you not to try and move beyond it. I mean, there's this famous Stoic saying which saying the obstacle, if there's an obstacle in your way, it becomes the way. The obstacle in your path shows you the path. And when you see something stopping you, like fear is stopping you, you need to learn the fact that it's not stopping you from doing something. It's telling you to carefully assess it and move ahead in a way that is far more thought through than anything else. And this thinking through is important, right? We're stuck in this world, and that's one of my next learnings, is that stuck in this world is asking us to move at lightning speed. That we need to go fast, we need to do everything, we need to have a startup by the time you're 19, 20, you need to be able to unicorns and valuations and high growth careers and growth hacking and everything else. But only when you pause and you reflect on what's happened so far, and you focus on your present to do what you have to do, and you project towards the future, can you truly be able to move ahead in the right balanced form, with the most amount of clarity, without feeling that rush, without feeling that pressure that comes. And I use the word pressure a lot because that's what we all feel, right? That's why we get burned out, because we feel the pressure. We feel the pressure of performance. We feel the pressure of what we have to do. But if you're spending enough time on a daily basis just reflecting on, this is what has happened, this is what's going on right now, and this is where I'm going to go, basis all those things, you move ahead with a certain level of purpose, with a certain level of clarity, and definitely a lot more balance. You're not worried about going off balance. And that gives you so much more courage. That gives you so much more of an ability to speak your truth. We all feel certain things. We all want to say certain things, but we're worried about saying them because we are worried about the consequences. And think about the wisest people you know. They all pause for a second before they speak, right? If someone pauses before they speak, you assuming that they're thoughtful. It's because they're thinking it through and they're speaking. And so you don't have to rush towards saying things. You don't have to rush towards reacting to things. Hold on for a second. Take a few seconds, take 5 seconds, and then respond. Just those 3 to 5 seconds of you thinking and responding has you in many ways not react with emotion, not react without thinking it through. You are reacting with the most amount of thought. That also gives you so much more courage to be able to do the things you really want to do without the worry of, oh, I didn't do it right, or maybe I won't do it right. To be true, you can actually do it. And all of these things can only happen. One of my favorite lines, which I've read in recent times, is that all man's troubles come from his inability to sit in a room alone by himself or herself. And we don't spend enough time with ourselves. We aren't thinking about ourselves in the sense of not what we want, but what are we truly feeling? What do we truly believe in? How are we, can we be content by ourselves? People talk about meditation, and I do brief meditations in the day. I do like 4 or 5 minutes. I don't do more than that. But I do spend time in finding a way to talk to myself. And the more you talk to yourself, to truly understand, why did I say this? Why did I react like that? why am I feeling this way? And you think it through, you could journal it down, you could, it always helps to find therapy, everything else. You actually have so much more of an understanding of yourself, and you find that the one thing you don't do enough is show a level of empathy towards yourself. And I've learned to be empathetic to my own self a lot more. It's not about being overconfident or saying, I am the center of the focus, which can happen. It comes with a problem with me very, very often. But it's to really sit down and say that I will show myself the same kind of empathy which I believe I need to show the people around, the world around. And the more empathy you show yourself, the more clear you are about your own feelings. You will not only find the courage to do what you have to do, say what you have to say, but you also find the belief and trust in yourself that will help you move ahead with the best kind of balance and clarity, and truly also allows you to explore all those things you're curious about, truly find that purpose you want in your life. And more than anything else, through all of these, it sparks so many moments of joy and happiness that you understand in the truest form what life is all about. Something I've been mulling over and thought I'd share it with you guys. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. If any of these resonated with you, please do drop it in the comments, your own thoughts and comments. I'd love to hear anything which you've experienced, which you'd want to share. I want to make this an open forum to not just share what I am going through, what I have gone through, but to allow you to share as well. And over time, we'll open this up to questions you might have, and we'll make this a space where all of us help each other to deal with everything that's going on in our minds and in our lives. And if you do want more content like this, make sure you hit subscribe and smash that bell icon. And I'll catch you guys soon. And in case you're a listener of Take a Pause, the podcast, there's something very interesting coming up for our next season. We're on a short break before the next season. Some super interesting guests and a brand new, I can't talk about it, but there's something brand new and massive coming up there as well. But till then, take care and take time to take a pause in your life. It does more good than you think.